All right, blessings, blessings. Welcome to Congregation Rehoboth, Tuesday night teaching, TNT, where we blow false doctrine, false teaching into the theological trash can, and we make no apologies. Um, to do that, it takes courage, it takes study, and at the same time, we're open for correction. And if there is a consistent teaching that is false, that is erroneous, then we address it. We address that because we don't want to allow a lie to live. No, we don't want, especially when it comes to the scriptures. There are many people who are deceived and are deceiving. And so, what we want to do is lay down the truth to at least give, especially our children, a fighting chance. We got to give our children a fight. They're surrounded with all kinds of lies. And so, if we're not speaking the truth, then we don't give them a fighting chance. At least give them an opportunity to make a choice, to have a choice. And listen, listen, parents, and those of you who are listening or will be listening, you're not just a parent, but anybody. If you care about the next generation, you got to give them an alternative. You got to give them a biblical alternative to every single thing the world is going to throw at them, so that they can recognize and then not be able to say this, well, I didn't know. I wish I had known. We're going to, in this ministry, try our darndest to cover controversial topics, taboo topics, topics that are not generally talked about, because most preachers and pastors don't talk about these issues because they're engaged in them. Now, does that mean that I'm bigger and better? No, absolutely not. I could fall into it as well. That's why you should pray for your pastor. You should pray for the pastor and ask Abba to protect me, to guide me, to shield me, to put a hedge around me. Oh yes, as I pray for you. All right, tonight we're going to be in part. It says part 2, but I believe it's part 3. I did part 2 on Shabbat. I think I did. I got to get better at this. I think it's part 3. All right. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, y'all. 1 Corinthians chapter 16. And we're going to be in the scriptures tonight. I think Paul is one of my favorite inspired authors. Yeah, I really do. I like the Tanakh. I like the writers in the Torah, the Psalms, and the prophets. But there's something about Paul that he quotes a lot of the Torah and the Psalms and the prophets. And I think that's why I like him, because he really brings the Torah to the forefront and then shows how it's related to the Brit Hadashah, how they're connected. And I like that. And that's why Peter says in 2 Peter 3:16, he says that many people twist Paul's writings just like they do the other scriptures. So Peter does something interesting there. He not only does he recognize that what Paul is writing is definitely scripture, but he also recognizes that Paul's writing is difficult to understand for the average person. But I'm so grateful that But Yah has given me a glimpse into the heart of Paul, our brother. All right, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, and I'm going to read it for you. Chapter 16, and we're going to start in verse 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 16. I can't get this page separated, y'all. There we go. This is a new Bible, man. I haven't hardly used this one. I usually don't read out of this one. It's the Schofield Bible. And I usually don't read out of this one, but here we go. Here we go. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13. Hold on. Is this the scripture? Sorry, not 13, but 1 Corinthians chapter 16 and verse 15. Why do I have 13 here? Was there a reason? Oh, yeah, there is a reason. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Blessing, shalom, shalom, Achaia, shalom, Ach. 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13. The word of Yah reads, he says, watch ye. So watch. And then he says, stand fast in the faith. So watch and then stand fast. In other words, be alert. Be alert. Don't be caught slipping, but be alert. He says, watch, stand fast in the faith. So you're watching and then you're going to be alert. Why? He says, and then he says, quit ye like men. Quit ye like men is simply act like men. Watch, be alert, and act like men. I like this because it gives me a reason to say man up. Yes, he says, in other words, quit ye like men. Let me make sure. I believe this is saying, some can interpret it act like men, but I want to make sure that what word he's using for men. Interesting. Yep, just like I thought. This word, I'll show you. I'll show you what it means. To make a man of, or make brave. Interesting how they associate manhood with being brave, as though women can't be brave. Show oneself a man or show oneself to be brave. I'm going to go with be brave, because being a man, men do not have the corner on what it means to be brave. Are y'all with me? It takes a brave woman to raise single boys. It takes a brave woman to be a single mother. It takes a brave woman to not to murder her husband who's abusing her. Come on and go with me here. Because she knows if she does that, she'll never see her children again. And we've had brave women, and we do have brave women in our lives. But I like that brave part of it. He says, be brave. All right. So 1 Corinthians 16, he says, be brave And then he says, be strong. So look at these four things: watch, be alert, be brave, and be strong. Look at those things: watch, be brave, be alert, and be strong. Now, Paul is telling the Corinthians that there's trouble coming. There's trouble. Have you ever sensed that you just got this feeling that trouble was coming? The Ruach allowed you to be invited to the spiritual realm, and you were able to sense on a spiritual level that something's going to happen. Something is brewing in the spiritual realm. And so he had you to bone up on studying your word. He's allowed you to say, you know what, I need to make sure that I'm walking holy, that I'm living right, that excuse me, that I am being watchful, that I'm being alert spiritually, that I'm being brave, and then strong. Then he says this, I like this: let all things be done with charity. From the position of love, he says, whatever you decide to do, make sure you do it with charity, with love. You're speaking the truth, speak the truth in love. If you're serving someone, serve them in love. Watch this. If you're correcting people, correct them with love. Now watch this. The mere fact that you are correcting them is a demonstration of love. Yes, it is. That shows that you care enough about them to not allow them to continue to live in such a way that's going to bring them postponed damage. Then he says, I beseech you, brethren. I like this. He says, you know the house of Stephanas, that it is the first fruits, his household. In other words, when Paul came to Achaia, and I showed the map last time where Achaia was. Let me show you where it is. Who remembers where Achaia is? When I showed the map last time. Is it in Rome or is it in Greece? Okay. You guys see that? Hold on. Let me pull it over. Okay. See down here at the bottom of the screen where Corinth is? Look above Corinth, north of Corinth is Achaia. And so this was Paul's, I believe, second or third missionary journey, where he went and he planted churches, congregations. And he says that Stephanas' household were the first ones to believe in Yeshua HaMashiach. They were the first. And this is the beautiful thing about the scriptures, because it says this to the Corinthians. He says, you know that Stephanas' house, that they are the first fruit. They were the ones that first came to believe. And that they have, watch this, they have addicted themselves to ministry of the saints. Now, I want to deal with this because Paul is saying that this household, not only were they the first, but they set the example of how to do ministry. I'm talking to people who are older, who are, out of your siblings. Maybe you're the oldest, and there was a responsibility to set the example. Even sometimes we pass that on to our children. The first one always has to set the example for the younger one. It seems like that is the order of the day. That's a natural phenomena that happens. The older has to set the example for the younger. All right. And so Paul says this, well, what was the example? What was the example? Well, Paul says the example that they set was being addicted to ministry. Out of all the things that Stephanas's house could have been doing, could have been addicting themselves to, excuse me, Paul said that they made the choice to addict themselves to ministry. Now, they could have addicted themselves to boasting about sin. You know, that's an addiction. Sin is an addiction. And then boasting about it is the next step in that addiction. He says, no, you got to understand that the Corinthians, they lived in a area where there were many people from different nations. Look at the map. It's a port town, awesome for trading. So you had various people. They were surrounded all the time by all these different um, business endeavors, people coming in to sell their products and spend time in Corinth and then watch this, because the magistrates and people who ran Corinthians, because it was a lucrative area, they often wanted these foreigners to stay and to share in the life of sin that would help them make money, more money. And so you had all kinds of things going on in Corinthians. You had pagan worship. Now remember, with pagan worship comes along with business, selling the items to worship these pagan gods, big business. Get your lamps, get your, I saw something on TikTok today. Yeah, I know. Got me too. I saw something on TikTok though, that there's an electronic Ouija board that I mean, everything's electronic now, right? But there's an electronic Ouija board. So you and Corinthians was the same, where you had all of these pagan gods that taught people taught that engaging in all kinds of immoral behavior was right, and it was addicting. A man having his own father's wife. Come on, y'all. That's just a level of sickness in the mind that sin will have. A mother engaging in sexual activity with her stepson, stepmama drama. All right. Um, all kinds of sexual immorality. And so there were a whole lot of things that Stephanas's household could have. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Look it up. Look it up. Electronic Ouija board. Look it up. Um, there were all kinds of temptations that Achaia's the people in Achaia could have engaged in. However, we see Stephanas making a choice to engage in being addicted to ministry. So I want to suggest this to you, that there's nothing wrong with being addicted to something. It's just, what are you addicted to? Are you addicted to serving Yah? And that's a good addiction. That you have to have a mind that you want to serve Him morning, noon, and night. You can't leave. You can't live without doing that. You can't take a breath without serving Him. And then watch this. People who are addicted usually want to grab others to get it to enjoy and take pleasure in, watch this, and partake in the addiction with you. Even a drunk wants to get drunk together with somebody. Isn't it strange how, people who smoke weed and do dope and all of that stuff, they don't have no problem sharing. It's us that get clean here, that get cleaned up. Now we got a problem sharing stuff. But dope fiends, they ain't got no problem sharing. Cigarette chain smokers, addiction, people who are in addiction, they want company. And they have no problem sharing their addiction. But here's the thing I want to lay on us tonight. As I continue Stephanas' house was addicted to ministry. They were fully immersed in living a life that showed their addiction loud and proud. And I'm curious because I want to know anything excessive is not good or unhealthy. Well, being addicted to ministry is good though within itself. Because what that's saying is that you are completely devoted to serving Yah. See, it's not a matter of that's a let me just say this because I really see we tell the truth here. And I appreciate your comments, but that is a worldly idea. And here's another worldly idea. Anything in moderation is good, right? How about dope? Should we do dope in moderation? Because that's a saying, right? And people believe that and live by that. All things in moderation. So is a little bit of dope, is that okay? How about a little crack? That's okay because it's in moderation, right? Right. You get my point. How about a little? Well, that's what the saying is. The saying is, all things in moderation. All things in moderation. And so that is a worldly perspective. But the scripture says that Stephanas was addicted to ministry. Yeah, it says it right in the text here. They have addicted themselves to the ministry of serving the saints. I'm going to show tonight that all of us have some kind of addiction. Every single human on this earth has not had, but has an addiction. You're addicted to something. And I'm going to show tonight that many of us are addicted. The number one addiction that many people have, and some of them may not even know it, but they're addicted to food. And more particularly, they're addicted to sugar, salts, and fats. Let me do 3 S's: sugars, salts, and saturated fats. Try to take somebody's meat from them. Try to take someone's candy. See how long you can do without sugar in your diet. Now, when I say sugar, y'all, I want to be clear. Processed sugar, which is in 90% of the products that you buy from the shelf, from the market. I would even say 99%. See, you have to know what kinds of sugars are man-made and what kinds of sugars are natural. And so whether you may not be addicted to sex, you may not be addicted to porn, you may not be addicted to drugs, but you have an addiction. And many Americans, I would say over 90% of Americans are addicted to white sugar. Absolutely. White sugar, guys, is found. So you got to understand what white sugar is made from. Sugar cane. Sugar cane is in every single product that comes in a container or bag at the grocery store. Sugar cane. And what has been done to it? Well, it's been processed. Okay, so beets, yes, beets have sugar, but those are natural occurring sugars. See, there's a difference, guys. I want to be clear with this. There's a difference between processed sugars and man-made and natural sugars that occur in fruit, that occur in vegetables. Naturally occurring sugars are good for us. Man-made sugars are not. And I think that's where, people today really, really get confused when you say sugars. You have to define your terms and be specific. And when you talk about naturally occurring sugars, or watch this, Write this down. Monosaccharides, not polysaccharides. Monosaccharides are good for the body because we can break them down easily. We can utilize them. Polysaccharides are more difficult to break down, and many times we cannot use them. And so this is one of the problems. So I want to read something really quick to you guys. According to Harvard professors of nutrition, in particular Walter Willett, in his book, The Transition of Food to Being an Industrial Product, I want y'all to get this, that they've transitioned food. And when I say they, I'm talking about manufacturers. The manufacturers of certain foods have created or turned food into an industrial product. There's a transition in America. I don't know about other countries, but in America, there's been a transition of food into an industrial product. See, many of us, instead of addicting ourselves to ministry, we have addicted ourselves to food. And as this professor has noted, one of the reasons why is that they've turned food, and I believe they turned into not just an industrial product, but they've turned it into a industrial weapon. I would go that far as to say that they've turned it into an industrial weapon. And I'm going to use that first. Can you believe that they turned food into a weapon? I want you to understand this. I want you to understand. And tonight we're going to get to the bottom of it. And so let me ask you guys a question. What is the difference between something that can be categorized as a food and something that can be categorized as a product? What are some of the major top three differences between something that is a product and what is actually food? I open it up to you. What say you? What's one major difference between something that is a food, that legitimately is food, and something that is just simply an industrial product? You could talk about the qualitative nature of it, or you could talk about the functional nature of it. What say you? Let's talk. Okay, a product is manufactured. Oh, okay, that's a big one right there. It's manufactured. That is created by another human. Or it's altered in such a way by another human that they've manufactured. For example, fructose is found in many of our fruits, naturally occurring. But high fructose corn syrup is a manufactured product. Awesome. Anyone else? Anyone else? So a product are you saying it has multiple parts, different parts to it? All right. Absolutely. What's another major one though? Again, it could be function or it could be qualitative. Okay. That for example, if you look at, you can take peaches. Peaches in and of itself are they're natural. You don't have to cook them. You don't have to do anything. Once you pull it off of that tree, it's been cooked by the sun and it's delicious. You don't need to do anything to it. You know what you're getting. But dried peaches, you don't know. You're getting peaches, but you're also getting other parts. All right. Any other thing? What's one last difference? Major difference. All right. Processed, yeah, I would say processed and manufactured are are synonyms, definitely the same. But yes, processed and manufactured. But what's another major one? Come on, y'all. Nobody's talking. Y'all don't feel like talking. Okay, I'll give it to you. Food, functionally, is designed to give you vital nutrients. That's the purpose of food. See, we don't eat today. Many people who are addicted, they're not eating for vital nutrients. They're eating for taste. And so the reason why they're eating for taste is because food has been transitioned into an industrial product. We listen, guys. I know this is difficult. Every time I talk about this, it's going to be difficult. But again, we're talking about what are we addicted to? Stephanas was addicted to ministry. But we in this country, guys, it's difficult to be addicted to ministry when we have a competing addiction. When we have a competing addiction. And I would even liken it to when the scripture says you can't serve two masters. You can't serve two masters. Either you're going to love one and hold on to it, or you're not. You can't serve both. And so we've got to make a choice. And so, first of all, in helping us make that choice, we got to understand the nature of the transition of food to an industrial product. And so, what happens is in these products that start off good, they strip away all the vital nutrients. The nutritional value of food is the stripping of the nutritional value is the process of turning food into an industrial product. All right. It's the major reason why our current designation of what we eat is no longer in the category of food, y'all. It's because they strip the vital nutrients and nutritional value out of it. So you got to ask yourself this: what am I eating and why am I eating it? If it is not to gain, see, you don't even need the actual food product. The reason why you're eating is, see, we need to become addicted to eating. I would even say, become addicted to being more biblical with how we live. We should be addicted to that because we got to understand that what we're eating most of the time is not even considered food, y'all. It's been transitioned into an addictive product. So who's the target audience? Who's the target and how do they target you? Well, the primary target, let me share my screen here because I want y'all to see where I'm going. The primary target for sugar is junk food. Now, junk food comes, and I don't even know why they call it junk food, but junk food giants, these manufacturers, they spend millions of dollars into science of creating new and irresistible concoctions or parts that make up what we used to call food. And it fuels overeating or addiction. Scientists, they do this. And you know who the number one target is? Children. Children. And so what I do recommend is that you guys pick up this book right here by Michael Moss, Salt, Sugar, and Fat. The big three. And on page 10 in this book, let me read for you. Because when I say stuff, a lot of people don't believe it. Page 10 in Sugar, Salt, and Fat by Michael Moss. He says this: 25 years later, talking about today's time, this scientific group called Manila has gotten closer than any other scientist to one of the most compelling and, to the food industry, financially important aspects of the relationship children have to sugar. Listen, guys, they're targeting your children. In her most recent project, she tested 356 children ages 5 to 10. Listen, if you got nieces, if the author's name is Michael Moss. Michael Moss, salt, sugar, and fat. Okay. Watch this. They tested 356 children ages 5 to 10. 5 to 10, you guys. That's right when they start kindergarten. And I want to say this. We need to start looking at these schools and these educational facilities and make a decision. Are we going to make our children lunches, or are we going to allow our children to get addicted at the age of 5? Watch this. They tested 356 children ages 5 to 10 who were brought to Monell, which is this science lab, to determine their bliss point. To determine their bliss point. Let me read something on page 4. Page 4 says this. Watch this. Scientists are now finding taste receptors that light up for sugar all the way down our esophagus to our stomach and then the pancreas. And they appear to be intricately tied to our appetite. The second thing to know about sugar, food manufacturers, watch this, are well aware. Food manufacturers are well aware of the tongue map, along with a whole lot more about why we crave sweets. They have on staff cadres or plenty of scientists who specialize in senses. You know the 5 senses. Well, the ones they specialize in, taste. And the companies use their knowledge to put sugar to work for them in countless ways. See, guys, this is not something that's accidentally done. Listen, man, listen. You've got to eat. Oh, there's going to be a lesson. You got to eat for self-defense. Oh, come on and go with me here. That's going to be, let me write that down. You got to eat for self-defense. Hold on. See, that's a whole series. I'm writing this down because I don't know I'll forget it. Eat for self-defense. Now, let me tell you something. If a burglar, black boot, beanie, hoodie, walked to your door, black boot kicked your door in, what would you do, men? Or even women, what would you do? Some men would wake their wife up, baby, go see what that is. But what would you do? You would defend the crib. You would defend the crib. Self-defense. So why are we allowing these food manufacturers to kick our doors in and take the very thing that's so precious to us, which is our health? Look, it seems like we ought to tell, these food scientists and these manufacturers to, what did we used to say when we weren't saved, when we weren't, sanctified? Why don't we have a little bit more love for ourselves? Just a little bit more, family. Just let's have a little bit more love for ourselves and say, you know what? I'm going to stop allowing these food manufacturers who know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They're forcing. Well, I wouldn't even say they're forcing, but they're providing a platform to get into your life and we're just allowing them to do it. How are we going to come together and do real ministry if we're allowing these watch this, these drug dealers, these dope dealers to infest our neighborhoods with all their products? It's just like I grew up in South Central LA, guys. I grew up in South Central LA, and I knew that the dude down the street was selling drugs, the dude up the street was selling drugs, around the corner. We all knew it, but nobody would say nothing. Nobody would stand up to them. Did we love ourselves, or were we too fearful? I want to suggest that we love ourselves a little bit more. But let me get back to this bliss point, because I want to read this to you. So now that we know that they have the knowledge of what they're doing, what it says about bliss points. The bliss point is the precise amount of sweetness, no more, no less, that makes food and drinks more enjoyable. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about dopamine. They're talking about dopamine. And listen, we produce dopamine naturally. But guys, there are certain foods, again, I won't call them foods, but there are certain products that increase your bliss point, triggering dopamine in your body, your feel-good hormone. And so this is why, many people in my community, in the Israelite community, when we're eating sugary foods, desserts, all kinds of things, we're having a good time. We're laughing, we're playing, we're joking, we're dancing, we're moving. We're feeling good because dopamine is turned on. It's triggered automatically. Now, let me drop something on you. Well, what are they? What else triggers dopamine? See, this is what we got to get into. Endocannabinoids. Let me read something to you on page 7. We're going to go in tonight. Check this out. Check this out. Watch what this says in second paragraph, page 7. In 2001, they identified the actual protein molecule T1R3. Please write that down. T1, so you can go and study it. T1R3, a protein molecule. We're going to get into protein receptors. Sorry, not protein receptors, but sugar receptors. And people who, now you got to understand, it's what you got to understand about so-called Black people. We have the highest melanin content. And all melanin is carbon. And watch this. And all carbon is sugar. So we are more susceptible to addiction to that. In other words, we have a higher level of dopamine. Oh, come on and go with me here. It's easier to addict us to things because of because our melanin content is so high. Again, it's made out of carbon, which is ultimately breaks down to sugar, which ultimately feeds and triggers dopamine, which is the feel-good hormone. Watch this. It sits in the taste buds. So T1R3 sits in the taste bud and detects sugar. More recently, they have been tracking the sugar sensors that are spread throughout the digestive system. Notice what we're talking about. We're talking about the tongue that has sensors, the digestive system from the esophagus to the stomach. Well, before you get to the stomach, the duodenum, which is where we extract the nutrients, and then to the stomach, which further breaks down the food. So our whole digestive system. And they now suspect that these sensors are playing a variety of key roles in our metabolism. They have even solved one of the more enduring mysteries in food cravings, the marijuana-induced state known as the munchies. Now, if you smoked marijuana before, you know about the munchies. This came about in 2009 when Robert Margolski, a molecular biologist and associate director of the center, joined other scientists in discovering that the sweet taste receptors on the tongue get aroused by endocannabinoids. The sweet, watch this, the sweet taste receptors, that's on our tongues, they are aroused, they're turned on by endocannabinoids. Let me share something with you. Can y'all see that? Look at this. This is an article I can send to you. It's from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. It is a government document. Look, if you look up here, oh, you can't see it. Hold on. Hey, where'd it go? Oh, right here. So you look up here. Hey, hold on, y'all. Oh, no, you didn't. Here we go. NIDA, This is a government critically acclaimed article. Watch this. Synthetic cannabinoids. I'm right here. Synthetic cannabinoids refer to a class of lab-made substances. Here we go. Lab-made substances that are chemically similar to chemicals found in cannabis. Look, I'm telling you what they're doing to the food. Now, you want to keep feeding this to your kids? You want to keep feeding this to Big Mama, allowing her to eat this stuff? Look, why not just go to the dope man and go get her a blunt? I mean, you might as well. Now, I'm going to prove later that it's basically the same thing. Watch this. Lab-made substances that are chemically similar to chemicals found in the cannabis plant. Though they produce very different effects. Some synthetic cannabinoids have potential or current medical uses, like so-called medicinal marijuana. I'm going to go in on that later in this series. Current medical uses, but many are illicitly manufactured and sold. Research shows the use of illicit synthetic cannabinoids is associated with severe health problems and can be life-threatening. I'm going to come back to this article. Okay? But I want to show you that this article is very interesting. And I want to show you this other one. Well, you already showed. So what they're saying is endocannabinoids are very similar or the sister to THC, the addictive drug that they add to, well, I shouldn't say add to, but they increase. They increase. Come on. They've cloned Tyrone. Yes, indeed. Yes. Now, THC is the addictive element in that they add to, and I shouldn't say add to because it comes with THC, but the levels the natural levels of THC in cannabis is so low. And I do have a teaching on how they increase it and why. You know what? Give me a second and I'm going to pull that up for you because, see, many people think I just be up here talking, but I'm going to show y'all something because Benz, he doesn't play. Cannabis research. Look at this. I got this all right here. You see this? Cannabis research. It's in my notes. We're on part 3 right now. Watch this. Let me hit y'all with these facts. You can look them up later. Because see, some of us don't believe that fat meat is greasy. Because we just keep going to the store and putting this stuff on the shelf for our children. Watch this. THC, tetrahydrocannabinol. Okay, if you didn't know, tetrahydrocannabinol. Okay, there you go. Let me break it down for you. There you go. Tetrahydrocannabinol. In the 1940s and 50s, it was less than 2%. It was 1 to 2%, less than 1 to 2%. Okay. In 1998, 4 to 6%. By 2000, 13 to 30. Notice this, guys. This was just 2 years. 20 years later, what do you think it is? There's no longer natural cannabis, guys. You know why there's no longer natural cannabis? Because the government are in charge of the seeds that grow cannabis. Listen, it's a GMO, y'all. The medicinal marijuana, yes, it's a GMO. Yes, it is. Now, how did it get like that? Y'all got me going in. Synthetic THC. We just finished talking about this. Endocannabinoids, synthetic THC is what they make. Well, when did they start making this? Look up these doctors. Look up this guy, James Ketchum. Look him up. Invented in 1949. Okay, DMHP. Listen, dimethyl heptylpyrin. You see that? Dimethyl heptylpyrin. DMHP was created by James Ketchum. You need to look him up in 1949. Okay? Now watch this. He created it, right? Also look up EA2233, experimental agent 2233. See, you need to do research before you come trying to tell me, and you don't even do no research. Okay? Listen, look up experimental agent 2233. That's all you got to do. And all of this stuff. Now watch this. The CBD, which is the medicinal part of cannabis, has been reduced from 40% to 0.08. Oh. Listen, President Nixon, after this guy created this in 1949, the U.S. Army scientists got a hold of it in the 50s and created experimental agent 2233. And here are some of the doctors involved. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, Colonel James Ketchum. They were not looking for medicinal benefits, but trying to subdue people. Listen, all that marijuana that they made for free, not free, sorry, that they made legal, it's a weapon. Okay? Look, man. Now watch this. They made it in the 50s, but watch this. They made it because of the so-called black retaliation of violence in the 60s. Come on, y'all. It was to subdue people from rising up against the government. But now, watch this. Now they're putting it in the food. They're subduing you with the food. Now, watch what it does. Cannabinoid receptors, they bind themselves to proteins in the brain and the nervous system and other parts of the body, and they trigger dopamine. So, in other words, when you buy these foods that I'm about to show you, what you are doing is getting your kids high. I'm going to say it. Your grandkids, you're getting them high. Big Mama, when she said, go to the liquor store and grab me some of them Doritos, you getting Big Mama high. So in other words, you they dope dealer, they dope pusher. Now watch this. This is what causes overeating. This is the process of what's happening in your addiction. Look at this. Let me show y'all this. See, it's not that you're craving, you are craving the junk food, but watch this. Because what junk food comes with or creates are worms, parasites. Worms crave junk food after consuming cannabis. What? Hold on, I need to take a drink. Y'all think I'm making this up? Worms soaked in cannabinoid found to have stronger preference than usual for higher calorie foods. Guess what calories do, y'all? Calories trigger dopamine as well. So these manufactured, man-made products that are higher in caloric intake, that have endocannabis as additives, are in the foods as a weapon against you and your children. Oh my goodness. Let me read a little bit. It is not just humans. Hold on. I want to show you this. Let me show you this article. I think I'm playing. You see that worm? You see that, right? It could be a whipworm. Hold on. It could be a whipworm. It could be a tapeworm, a hookworm, a roundworm, a pinworm. All of these parasites that are in your body. And I'm going to show you what they do to you if you don't cleanse. And I know I'm going to have to come back to this. But let me read a little bit. It is not just humans that get the munchies. Worms also display the same craving for their favorite snack or junk product after consuming cannabis, new research has found. In the study published in the journal, you can look this up, in the journal Current Biology, researchers managed to simulate worms getting stoned by, I don't know if they're getting stoned, but this is what the article says, by soaking them in cannabinoid. It is not known whether, well, see, it says it here. It's not known whether the worms get high, but they did display a stronger preference for higher calorie foods. Again, I wouldn't label it foods, just as humans crave junk products after taking cannabis. The findings suggest that cannabis can interfere with the important mechanism that helps regulate your appetite. Cannabinoids are known to act by binding the protein, I just said that, in the brain, the nervous system, and other parts of the body called cannabinoid receptors. Watch this, guys. We have in our bodies naturally cannabinoid receptors. And so this fake, phony, man-made cannabinoid is tricking our brain into desiring an insatiable appetite. Watch this. If cannabinoids contain a chemical known as THC, it can induce feelings of relaxation and contentment. Why? Because it turns on dopamine. Oh my goodness, guys. Look at this. Let me deal with this real quick. The second thing that triggers, so calories trigger dopamine. What causes us to eat more calories as well? We know these worms are parasites that are in our bodies because we're eating junk food. They're not eating the food, they're eating the calories. Now, watch this. What causes you to eat more calories? There's two things. The worms are eating the calories that are supposed to be intended for you, but also, watch this. There's something called vanishing caloric density. The appetite is based on how much total food volume passes through our digestive tract. You hear that? Your appetite is based on how much food volume passes through our digestive tract. You got to understand that. If a lot of food volume passes through, we're satisfied. Dopamine is turned on and we're good. But watch this. But what happens when the parasites? Hold on. So again, your appetite is based on how much total food volume passes through your digestive tract. If a lot of food volume passes, you're satisfied. Dopamine is turned on. You feel good. You feel full. But what happens when the parasites or the worms are eating the calories? Come on and go with me here. This is what happens. Vanishing caloric density says this. Vanishing caloric density here. You know what? Instead of me, I'm gonna show you what it's doing. See, you got to understand something. You don't want to feed your kids and your grandchildren and big mom and them that food. You don't want to. But the addiction doesn't care. Look at this. Watch this, y'all. Rapid food meltdown and vanishing caloric density. Foods that rapidly vanish or melt in your mouth, like chips, I'm going to show y'all which ones they are, signal to your brain. Are y'all with me? So look, watch this. The moment you eat it, you have no more control. You lost control. You've lost control. Blessings, brother. Blessing. I know who it is. Blessing, brother, sister. So you get off on them stuff. So how do you get off? Okay, that's an awesome question. Awesome question. So how do you get off of them? Watch this. I'm going to tell you. Foods that rapidly vanish or melt in your mouth signal to your brain that you're not eating as much as you actually are. In other words, these foods literally tell your brain that you're not full. In other words, they're tricking your dopamine. God almighty. Even though you're eating a lot of calories, this is how not only do you eat, but you don't understand that you also have worms from these kinds of foods that you're eating, and these worms are eating the calories. So you got two things working against you. You have, watch this, vanishing caloric density, and you have the parasites eating the calories, and then vanishing caloric density says you're not really full. So what do? You keep feeding. Watch this. You think you're feeding yourself, but you're feeding the parasites. My goodness. What kinds of parasites? I told you the whipworm, the tapeworm, the hookworm, the roundworm, the pinworm. There's more. There's so many more. These parasites, they eat the calories. They lay eggs inside of us. They secrete toxins, and they thrive off foods such as dairy, sugar, and proteins, which are fats. I think I'm playing tonight. This is why you have addiction: salt, sugar, and fat. They consume the nutrients. So watch this. They consume the nutrients in our bodies that we need to function properly. So watch this. You got a whole lot of people that their brains are not functioning properly. And you're trying to watch this. And we're trying to reason. Watch this. They ain't doing crack, but it's like they're doing crack. Have you ever tried to reason with a crackhead? People who are addicted to these foods, there's no reasoning with. You could talk to your blue in the face. It won't make a difference. They consume these parasites, they consume the nutrients in our bodies that we need to function properly, and they leave us feeling sick, hungry, and nutrient depleted, which creates a number of health issues. So you gotta make a choice. You want the red pill? You want the blue pill? You want what's on the left? You can get with this, or you can get with that. Watch this. What are dopamine triggers? Watch this. Dopamine triggers are changes in your brain. Especially if you are triggering your dopamine with synthetic chemicals. You're changing the brain function and structure. So what is food? That's a big question. What is food? Can someone tell us what is food? What is food? And then we know what junk food is. Let me break down junk food real quick. Junk food, just keeping it 100, $1.50, it gets you high, straight up. No wonder why we got kids. Man, in public school is a crazy how you got kids not only bringing marijuana, bringing edibles, bringing all kinds of vaping products with THC in them, but also the food that's being served. And the reason why I'm going so hard, guys, because I used to sell. Oh my goodness. Let me show you what I used to sell. Look at all this. I used to sell all this stuff to my students. I didn't love them. No, I didn't. Nope. Look at all this. Look, you got these products in your house? Huh? Cheez-Its, Pirates Booty, Act 2 popcorn. Look at these noodles down here. All endocannabinoids. All of these have synthetic endocannabinoids. In other words, THC. Look at over here, Airheads. I used to sell all this stuff. Look at the Skittles, all of it. Chips Ahoy. Oh, I used to love the soft batch. Look at this stuff. All these Skittles. The purple. They're missing the blue one. Where's the blue one? Nope, not here. Oreos. Oh, I don't have time tonight, but I could show you this rat experiment that they did with Oreos. Effects of sugar on a rat's brain. Look at this stuff. Oh my goodness, look at this. Starburst. Here we go, y'all. Fruit snack? Really? M&M cookies. Oh, I used to sell the grandma cookies too. Getting students high. You should have saw my lines out the door around the corner. Initially I started giving them giving students food because they were hungry. I didn't know, but isn't that just like a dope dealer? They'll give you your first hit because they know you're gonna come back. Oh man, look at this. So junk food, number one, it gets you high. The brain has a reward system that is hardwired us to want to engage in behaviors that we find pleasurable, like eating sweets, salt, and fatty foods. You know what that does in the long run? It damages your hippocampus. Do you know what the hippocampus is, guys? Huh? Do you even know that you had a hippocampus? I want to show you this because we don't even know what's going on with us. We just doing stuff. The hippocampus. I'm gonna show you what the hippocampus is. And this is why kids, they don't want to look, they're not happy unless they eating foods, junk foods. They don't even know how to socialize. Come on and go with me here. They don't even know how to have respect for adults. They don't know how to have empathy anymore. You know why? Because their hippocampus is damaged. We got kids that are brain damaged. Oh, I know I'm going in tonight. And there's a whole lot of folk that ain't gonna like it. But guess what? You think I care? Do you really think that I care? I care about you getting free. I care about you living a life of health. I don't care about how this is making you feel. Oh no, you got the wrong dude. Let me show you this real quick. Let me show you the hippocampus real quick. So you got the thymus, the amygdala are in charge of your emotions. The hypothalamus is in control of homeostasis. That means balance in your life. But look at what is affected. The hippocampus is right here. It's in charge of memory. But watch this. Let me show y'all something. Eating junk food not only gets you high, but it damages your hippocampus. You need that, y'all. People are hungrier. It makes you hungry all the time. When your hippocampus is damaged, it makes you hungrier all the time. You have amnesia. You can't remember stuff. Educationally, it disrupts cognition. Or, sorry, if you're not in education, cognition, you guys know what it is. It's how you process information. That's why you got to talk to people slow. They can't catch on to ideas fast. They can't follow conversations quickly. You got to slow down and repeat stuff because because you're dealing with a lot of people who have brain damage, not because they've been busted upside the head, but because they're addicted to food instead of ministry. How do you solve this? Pour yourself into the church. Call on Yah, pray. Abba Yah, help me to find ministry just as addictive as I do food. Abba Yah, help me to get around people that's going to challenge me. Abba Yah, watch this, change the places I go, change the people I hang around, and change my behavior. Help me to be discipled. What can we do? Follow the scriptures. Go to a Bible teaching congregation like Congregation Rehoboth on 710 Haight Avenue. There's a whole lot of love on Haight Street. How can you get better? How can you get off and stop eating this stuff? Come and follow the scriptures, as Yeshua said. Take my yoke upon you and then learn from me. We've been learning, we've been giving ourselves to the enemy and to the world for far too long. Isn't it about time that we start giving ourselves fully to Achaia, to Yeshua HaMashiach? That's how you beat this. That's how you get off of it. And then watch this. Once you give yourself and you yield to Yeshua HaMashiach, he's going to, watch this. Yah is going to infill you with the Ruach, or the Holy Spirit. And then watch this. The scripture says this. Paul says, I can do all things, but I will not allow myself to be brought under the power of none of that stuff. Do you know whose power I am under only? And see, this is why we cannot do it by ourselves. We need the power of the Ruach, of the Holy Ghost. He's going to give you power so that you, watch this. He's going to renew your strength by giving you divine enablement. See, right now you're doing it naturally through your own brain, through memory, through yoga, through meditation. But watch this. You need divine enablement. What did Isaiah say? He said this. Oh man, y'all gonna make me. Isaiah said that. Oh man, that scripture is losing my. It's. Oh, somebody said you can't remember. Is your hippocampus? That stuff. Oh man. He says, wait upon the Lord. He said, those that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall walk and not be weary. They shall run and not faint. They shall walk and not faint. They shall run and not be weary. All right. And so we see that Achaia can give us power, and he's going to, watch this. He's going to exchange our puny strength and give us divine enablement. I'm telling you. So this hippocampus is serious. Junk food damages your hippocampus. So you're telling me that you can't stop giving your child, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, yourself? You don't love yourself enough to say, you know what? I don't want to do brain damage to myself. See, some of you are not going to believe this, but yes, it does cause brain damage. Look it up. Junk food damages your hippocampus. Look it up. Now, what helps your hippocampus? If endocannabinoids harm the hippocampus, and watch this, if it harms it and it produces an overabundance of dopamine, which causes you to be addicted, tyrosine can change it. Tyrosine has healthy effects on the hippocampus. So you got to eat foods that are rich in tyrosine. Well, what are those? I got them right here. Lentils, delicious. Chickpeas are a fruit, okay? They're not a vegetable, they're not a bean, they are a fruit. Avocados, bananas, pineapple, strawberries, melons, figs, kiwi, grapes, peaches. The list goes on and on. Watch this. Tyrosine produces or triggers dopamine without the bad side effects. Why? Because tyrosine helps your body to know when you're full, so that you're not addicted anymore, that you stop eating. How can you help? How can you stop eating this stuff? Start eating foods that are rich in tyrosine and reverse this whole addictive process. Then when you're not addicted, you can think clearly. You can, watch it. You can have memory retention. You can learn easier. You retain truth. The scripture says this: my people perish because of a lack of knowledge. In other words, because your hippocampus is healthy, because it's no longer damaged, now you can learn what thus saith the Lord and then apply it to your life, and you don't forget about what the sermon was the moment you hit the house, when they ask you, what did they preach about today? You know what? I don't know, but it sure was good. Really. Or some of our children who go to church, they don't even know what the scripture, what was even taught. You know why? Because they can't even remember. Why can't they remember? Because they're thinking about junk food. Can't wait to get that fixed. Watch this. That's funny. Cookie dough. Okay. Oh my God. I had to put this there. Look at this. Here's your brain. Here's your brain on drugs. Now notice there's not any activity. There's no red. Usually when they do a scan of your brain, there's red showing activity in your brain. Well, when it's all green like this on both sides, there's limited to no activity. This is your brain on sugar. This is your brain on cocaine. There's no difference. Further proving the point that no, all foods are not processed nowadays. The foods that I mentioned up here, this is why, watch this. This is why we need to go back to the biblical diet, fruits and vegetables. But see, many people are so addicted to addicted to fast foods and junk food that when you hear we used to love fruit and vegetable when we were young, fruits and vegetables when we were young. I remember in the summer, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, mother would give us nothing but fruit. Nothing but fruit. Vegetables. That was the majority of food on my plate that my mother made. But watch this. It slowly started to fade away in the 80s. We could talk about fish, but I'm going to get back to that. But I could just say this. If you want lead in your body, all kinds of metals, because you know the ocean, even you don't want farm-fed fish because they're feeding them with GMOs also. Then you don't know what they're doing to the food to make the fish bulk up. Wild caught fish have all the metals in it that you don't even want in your body. Why? Because the oceans are polluted with seeds, absolutely. And if you can't find them with seeds, then eating fruit with no seeds is better than eating junk food. Now watch this. Oh, I just showed you this. Lentils, chickpeas. You can make all kinds of meals from all of these things that are here, y'all. If you love yourself enough, watch this. If you love yourself a little bit more and say, you know what? I don't want to do any more brain damage to myself, to my children. I don't want to. Look at this, guys. Is any of this in your closet? This is killing us. It's killing us. Look at this. A smoker. See the little red? A little bit. People who are on alcohol, a little bit of red, a little bit of brain activity. People who are obese, a little bit of brain activity. People on cocaine, not so much. Non-smokers, look at this brain. All kinds of activity. That's how a brain should look when it's scanned. All kinds of activity going on right here. You hardly see any green, look at this. All kinds of activity. But that's the non-smoker. Look at the so-called normal brain. All this red here. Normal. Okay, so if you look at the alcoholic, okay, the smoker up here, and if you look down, this is a non-smoker, all the red. An alcoholic, a little bit of brain activity. That's why your relationships with alcoholics and people who do drugs is not good. They can't talk. They can't keep a conversation. They can't remember stuff, let alone your birthday and anniversaries. They don't know. Normal, all the brain activity. Even with our kids, you tell them to do, look, you can't eat nowadays, you can't hardly tell kids to do 3 different tasks at once. They can't remember. Why? Because their brain is addicted to junk food, which damages the hippocampus, which is dealing with the memory and the learning. and the processing of information. Okay? Listen, you take those kids, listen, you take all, listen, I'm gonna go on the limb and say this, and I'm gonna close. You take most of those kids who so-called have special needs, check their diet. Check the diet. I bet you can curve some of that with what they eat. A person that's obese. Look at this. Look at the brain. Very little brain function activity. Normal brain. Look at all that brain activity. Cocaine, hardly any. Brain activity. Hey, y'all, I'm trying to tell you, I'm going to get into hydrogenated glucose next week. Next Tuesday, I'm starting right here. 11, next Tuesday's date. Starting right there. 11/7. 11/7, I'm starting right here with hydrogenated glucose. We got to understand. We got to overstand. We got to understand. We got to do all of that. Because many of us, watch this, many of us say, I understand, I know. But we keep, see, this is the sign of a truly addicted person. You don't think a crackhead know they own crack? They know. They can't do nothing about it. Let's love ourselves a little bit more. And watch this. When you love yourself, you can love your neighbor as yourself. I question people's love for me when they're addicted to junk food, when they can kill their own brain cells. I question your love for me. How can you love me genuinely, biblically, when you don't even, when you're killing yourself, when you're doing brain damage to yourself? Tell me this. Can you love me with the love of Yah? Oreos is demonic. And you know what that rat experiment showed? I'm going to show it next week. That the rat, they didn't even eat the outer black chocolate part. Guess what part they went for? The part that looked like cocaine. The white part. They went straight for it and left, because they don't put the endocannabinoids in the cookie. They put it in that white paste foamy stuff. That's where it's at. That's why kids eat that part first. Right? And they eat that middle part. I question, and you should question a person's love for you if they're eating junk food, if they're eating any of the foods that I've shown on this presentation lesson tonight. They don't love themselves. Because they're doing, watch this, all of these foods have chemicals in it that do brain damage. So how they gonna love you? They may say it with their lips, but their hearts, they don't really love you. That's gonna explain a whole lot. Because they can't love themselves, guys. And if they can't love themselves, they can't love you. Not like the scriptures teach you to love. They can't, y'all. They can't. It's just impossible. Look at this stuff. It's killing us. Next week, I'm going to have the organs that will shut down. I already dealt with the brain, but we're going to deal with the pancreas and how important the pancreas is to your mood. We're going to deal with the thyroid. Thyroid affects the mood also. That's why you see our children in such a dull, no joy, no smile, no personality. They're dulled. They're high. And the adults are high along with them. So while everybody is high and someone comes and tries to bring sense to a situation, we're looked at as the enemy. Come on and go with me here. We're trying to bring structure and order and sense, and we're looked at as the enemy. Why? Because you cannot talk sense to a crackhead. You can't reason with them. That's being mean. Y'all think that's being mean? No, it's not. It's being overtly true. Paul said this: have I become an enemy? Have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? So be it. So be it. So be it. So, guys, I'm gonna shut this one down tonight. And man, there's some things I said that are man major points that I pray that you wrote, that you took notes. I pray that we talked about tyrosine rich foods that can reverse. See, a lot of people say, well, you don't provide any solutions. Yes, I have. The question is, are you going to surrender and submit? People say you can't go cold turkey. Yes, you can. Don't stop lying. Stop letting the enemy tricking you out of your healing. Stop letting the enemy trick you out of your healing. That's one of his devices. Okay? You can go cold turkey just like you tried that crack, you tried that blunt, you tried that whatever it was. Try this cold turkey and suffer a little bit. See, we don't want to suffer. Suffer a little bit. Yeah, you could do this. I said some things about the hippocampus. I said some things about dopamine, the triggers, the things that trigger dopamine, guys, that tricks your brain. I talked about uh, parasites or worms, how watch this, they're the ones that are eating up the calories, along with the, excuse me, it does make me sad, yo. I can't lie. It does make me sad to know that our people um, won't make a choice. Love yourself just a little bit more. Blessings. Shalom.